opportunity. Your opportunity. Your opportunity. It's your opportunity. Your opportunity.
Hi, good evening, and welcome to Biz Talks with Abhi. I'm your host Abhimanyu, and today we are going to speak about a very important sector in India, that is hospitality and tourism services. Now we understand, there are multiple types of hotels. So you have your five stars, the four stars. Obviously, there are certain systems, there's certain management there that takes care of certain compliances and looks at certain numbers, how they're supposed to perform, and there is a deep dive into a lot of analysis happens on these in such kind of organizations. But when you come and look at the other kind of hotels, the three stars, the two stars, the lodges, etc., etc., there we see some kind of we understand, there could be management on the top which looks very tip and top, but under the underbelly looks a bit mismanaged. And this has been not just rest of India, but you take it to Uttarakhand, you take it to Himachal, you take it to Delhi, you take it to Bombay, you take it closer home to Sikkim, to Kalimpong, to Darjeeling, North Bengal, you take it to the northeast. You will observe this throughout the country. Now, to answer this pertinent question, I have invited a very a very important guest. His name is Mr. Devesh Sharma, and he's the founder of Compliance Karo. Welcome, Devesh.
Hi, Abhimanyu. Good
Hi,
evening, good evening.
Devesh. Am
Hi.
am I audible? Is there a lag?
Yes. No, you're audible. There's no
Uh,
lag.
yeah, I'm audible. All right, all right.
Yeah,
So, Devesh, if you would like to introduce yourself and just say a couple
yeah,
of words, and then we will get down to how we are going to be talking about this point. Yeah,
yeah.
please.
So good evening to all. Myself is Devesh Sharma. I am the founder of Compliance Karo. So basically, Compliance Grow is a whole sort of your go to a finance expert, rather than if you are,
Hmm.
having some problem with any kind of finance problem that you have, you can definitely, get in touch with us, and we will make sure that your businesses gets to proper success as you intended in the very beginning. So
Yeah,
yeah,
but guys,
uh,
yeah, but let me tell something, Devesh, that see, the lens is completely financial, but what they do from a financial perspective is wizardry, and they create
hmm,
systems which ensure that things are smooth. So, Devesh, should I get
correct.
onto the slides and
Yeah,
then
sure,
we can take? All
sure.
right, all right. I'm just
Yep.
adding that. All right. So that's the topic: hoteliers losing lakhs. So take it off,
So
Devesh.
yeah, so when we start and when we start talking about the hotels and everything else, so being very specific, when we talk about this northeastern region, we believe that the maximum amount of income that the state generates comes from tourism. And when we believe tourism is the go sort, income generation in that state, we believe that like people who are most related to tourism are making a good amount of profits. And when we talk
Hmm,
about it, the hotels, the homestays, the lodges, that comes into our mind first. But when we see the reality, that is totally different from what we are speaking out here. When we see the hotels and everything else,
hmm,
we see that there are losses making, like they have losses making machines, where they are
hmm,
paying a certain amount of expenses as a fixed expenses, and they are not even incurring that much amount of sales to cover those expenses as well. So when
hmm,
we talk about this, firstly, when we talk about how is it possible, so here it is that there is a problem. I wouldn't say there is like one certain problem, but there are like few different problems that accumulates, and that makes this problem a very bigger one. We in
okay.
this site are going to talk about how we are going to solve this problem, and what
Hmm,
are the solutions, and how are these solutions, are these even solutions affordable or not. Because like,
hmm,
we are definitely going to cater that amount of persons saying
hmm.
that, okay, we know the problem, we know the solution, but we don't have that
Absolutely.
money. We don't have that money to get those solutions done. So we are gonna,
Hmm.
when we move ahead in the slide, we are definitely gonna put some light on that particular point as well. So yeah,
Okay.
moving forward. Yeah, when we talk about like, when somebody opens a hotel or a homestay or a lodge, supposedly say where is a touristic place, So the first thing which he thinks about is, it's about profitability, saying that if I open a business here, so I should make profit out of it. Secondly, much more important and as important as profit, so when we talk about profitability, it's very simple, like sales minus our expenses is equal to profitability. But much
Absolutely.
bigger than that, yeah, but much bigger than that, when we talk about, smoothness of operations is what is required.
Hmm.
When we talk about smoothness of operation, like operation in itself is like a very bigger term. When we
Hmm.
break it down, we get to know that, there are a lot of things involved in it. And when we talk about details, the challenges which we talk about, like as we just told that everybody thinks of getting into profitability business, but when we talk about the challenges lies in the details of it. Now when we talk about operations, definitely operations is a multi-prolonged, multi-dimensional approach. You need to be aware of, how you're going to cater your guest, how you're going to maintain HR, how you're going to maintain the stock, how you're going to treat people, what should be the hospitality, and how you're going to cater those things, how you're going to make invoices, and xxx. So they are like, I can go on for like on and on and on, and it won't never end. So
So
that
it's like,
is,
you are the captain of a ship,
yeah,
and there are multiple people on the boat who are taking care of different aspects of
correct,
the business.
correct, correct,
And if you take, say, if the sails are moved in a wrong direction, and you
yeah,
turn the wheel in a different the rudder in
yeah,
a different direction, you'll topple off in the sea.
correct,
So
correct.
that's the
So
multi-pronged approach that you need.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and then what we are saying here is that every operation should be in a certain direction so that our ship sails to the destination we are trying to go for.
Okay.
So any one of those, if it doesn't works well, then it can't be like, we are very good at one and not good at
Hmm.
other. We need to
Right.
be good at all the terms to make that
Hmm.
ship, reach the destination. And when we
Hmm.
talk about making the predictive purchases or hiring for a season based business, it becomes very critical for our profitability as well. Because, like,
Yeah.
when we talk about hotels and everything else, it's a
Hmm.
very season based business where we have business for, like, say, 6 months, 7 months. And for the rest
Yeah.
of months, like, so 3 months or 4 months are like, not that amount of sales is generated. But when taking those particular hotels and running it, we need to take that in mind as well.
Yeah.
And not it just can't, it just
So
couldn't
it's
be the, when we just see the, yeah, yeah,
hmm. So it's again like the ship analogy. So you wait for the high tide
correct,
for the ship to go to the sea.
yeah,
You ensure
yeah,
that there are proper, like, trade winds that are there, so that your ship can flow in the right direction, and you can take your ship.
correct.
Like now it's like mainly engine powered, but still, like, winds, trade winds do matter. Similarly, on a low tide, you would be on the shore and you will not venture into the sea, so that you don't hit
Correct,
rocks below. So
yeah,
yeah. So coming to the point is that not everybody is an expert, right? Like,
correct,
so if I'm the owner of a ship, I'll have a second in command.
yeah.
So we'll
So
shift to
that
the
is,
second
yeah,
in command.
yeah, when we put into the topic here, what
Hmm.
we require here is that we require a person who is experienced and who can look and cater all those different stuffs which we are talking about in a
Hmm.
person and make that operations a smoother one. And when
Okay.
we all this talk about, we're talking about here is managers.
Yeah.
So what is the solution here? Solution could be hiring a particular manager who is experienced one and who can look into those operations. But
Hmm.
you're just stating a solution won't be a solution. When we talk
Hmm.
about hiring a manager, we will have different options, like saying that he must be trained but also experienced. But if he is not formally trained, he should be at least experienced, and he should be have any certain, working years under his belt, saying that he must have catered some amount of guest and everything else. So
Right.
when we talk about, a manager as well, there are certain things that we need to look forward for. And also we need to make sure that, the manager is the hero of the company. But when we talk about the hero, here he could be the villain as well, you know so
Which
it
is the
works.
more main case all the
Correct,
time.
correct, correct. So it works both ways. When we trust a certain guy at that particular extent, it could be
Hmm.
both ways. He could,
Yeah.
like, stay loyal on those trust,
Hmm.
or he could just go opposite. He could just, take cash out of our business, or,
Hmm.
give us wrong numbers, and that is also a possibility.
Absolutely, man. Like in the sense that
Yeah,
Devesh, when you look at like the term that you have used, mimicking star hotels, this is what normally
correct.
people do. So you
Hmm.
see that, oh, star hotels, they are managers and etc. etc. There's a manager for every department actually,
Correct.
right? But we can't, like a normal person, a normal business handle a cannot hire a manager for every department, so he hires a
Correct.
manager. But
Correct.
then again, we know that that managers come up from the system. He's been guided in that particular system. He knows where the
Hmm.
gaps in the system are to
Yeah.
exploit, right?
Yeah.
So
Correct.
when that
Correct.
exploitation, gap exploitation happens, that is where the owner doesn't even know that he is losing
Correct.
money,
Correct.
but he
Correct.
is
Is
losing
it?
money.
Yeah, it's the same way, like, we are more focusing on getting an experienced one. But
Hmm.
the flaw here is that if we get an experienced one, he also knows the system very well, and he can, make those flaws
Manipulated.
work for him and
Yeah,
manipulate it to take cash out of the company. Yes.
that's where you require checks and balances, systems to
Correct.
be in
Correct.
place so that these things
Correct.
don't happen, right? So
And
all right.
mostly making it automative, more than being it manual. If it's
Hmm.
automative, then it's a very good, sense, where we can, make a proper check, and when we can see that rather than somebody is, getting manipulating us, we can
Hmm.
manipulate them.
Okay. Or less manipulation all the in
Yeah.
all places. We can catch these things, right?
Correct.
We
Correct.
own the strings.
Correct.
So yeah, man. So you need someone like that, right? You need
Yes, yes,
someone
yes.
who can
So
suggest and
yeah. So this phrase is just, putting everything into one certain thing. When we say that you need someone who can suggest and create systems for you that can ensure maximum compliances, because like hiring a person is never a solution. Hiring a person
Mhm.
and making him suitable for your business as per your needs, that is a solution. And how can you do
Absolutely.
that? You just can't, expect one particular person to be the solution for all your problems. It can't be like that. But
Okay.
making operations and making systems around him work in such a way that he
Mhm.
can give his 100%, and then that can achieve our goals in that particular way itself. So here,
Okay.
where we come in as a team,
Mhm.
is we help you make those systems very smoother. We help you
Mhm.
make those systems available to you in a very, uniform manner, where you don't require very high knowledge in a certain category or anything else. But if you even have a simple knowledge about how things are going to work for you, you can make a full uses of those particular systems, and then in that
Mhm.
manner you can,
Mhm.
start your operations and boost your sales as well.
Okay. Awesome, man.
Correct.
So
So yeah.
let's talk about compliance karo again,
Yeah,
man.
so when we talk about, building systems and other things, here is where we come in. So
Mhm.
basically, the whole logo of our is, we want the businesses or the clients that are coming in, we want them to win, you know and
Absolutely.
what when we talk about them winning, is like we have a committed team who is, dealing with all those certain things, who are creating systems for our clients in such a manner that they can, make a better, what say, business decisions, looking at
Mhm.
the numbers that they are generating, looking at how people are, looking. Because like when we talk about numbers, if you just see numbers on your screen, you won't make a lot out of it. But
Right.
even if those numbers are analyzed and provided to you in a better way, then you can
Mhm.
take better business decisions through it, and then you can create those systems which we are talking about.
Okay. Now, this is what, this is something that, and this, in today's world, right?
Yeah.
Whether you are based out of, say, Delhi or out of Sikkim, these systems can be created remotely as well,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
So that is the reason why, whether you are in Kohima, whether you are in
Yeah.
Guwahati, whether you are in Sikkim, whether you are in Kalimpong, there
Correct.
has to be a methodology in which those numbers are looked at. See, I run a business myself, right?
Correct.
I rely a lot on people who can understand numbers because I'm not from the
Mm-hmm.
numbers background.
True. True.
And over a period of time, in this last decade or so, I have started, sort of started understanding how to look at numbers and how to analyze them. And believe me, had I met you guys
Yeah.
5 8 years back,
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I would have I would have not made many of the mistakes. I've probably,
Correct.
I would have avoided them,
Correct. Correct.
so
Correct.
I just needed a good captain, like a second in command on
Yeah.
ship.
That is what I'm saying. Like when we talk about any industry, and this is not just the hotel industry we are talking about.
Hmm,
Currently here we are talking about the hotel industry, but if we take example of any industry, if there are proper systems, and you can manipulate those numbers. Not, I'm not saying manipulating in that sense, but
hmm.
manipulate in your own benefit. that is
Yeah,
the that is the epitome of where you can reach when we're talking
right,
about analyzing the numbers and working on it.
right,
Because like
right.
when you have that particular data and you can
Hmm,
analyze and make business decision through it, that can boost your sales.
hmm.
So that is the way of system which we are trying to analyze here.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Going to, what you guys do also, I'll
Correct.
just go over it, internal control
Yeah.
consultancy. If you look at the left side, guys, so these
Mhm.
are mainly from the consultation background: financial projection, bookkeeping, project report, and fund seed funding, government
Yeah.
grant, loan, etc., etc. But
Correct.
what I really like about, and on the right hand side you can see a lot
Mhm.
of, compliances issues and all. They're just, we've just listed the 4 5 of them. I think Devesh has just done 4 5, but
Yeah.
there are
Correct.
many that these guys can do.
Yeah.
But what I really liked about you guys is, see, you cannot, it's very difficult to hire a finance guy,
Correct.
especially in, since Sikkim. So in
Mhm.
Siliguri also you can hire a finance guy, or you can hire in Guwahati and all, but getting it, in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities is slightly difficult. Even in tier
Correct.
1, yeah, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
nobody looks at the small businesses and
Correct.
helps
Correct.
them analyze numbers. So
Correct.
this is where, I think that, teams like Compliance Karo comes in. They
Mhm.
basically come in, look at the numbers, create the systems, create the check and balances. They take a
Yeah.
certain charge for it, come out of it, and then there
Yeah.
is certain report making, and that's brilliant for everyone. Yeah.
Correct, correct. When we hire a finance guy, and in most of the businesses which I have seen into, which are like not those bigger business and which are MSMEs, they are
Hmm.
hiring person to just do the compliances, rather than
Hmm.
they are not making him that particular guy who can analyze the numbers. And there is a very
Hmm.
big difference when we are talking about analyzing the numbers and doing
Hmm.
the compliances. Like you can
Hmm.
get a compliances done from any accountant which is available
Yeah.
in the market, but when we talk
Yeah.
about hiring a person who can analyze those numbers and make those business decisions which you are making, he can
Hmm.
help in that. So there is where that whole catch is, rather than just doing the compliances for the sake. That doesn't
Hmm.
that is important, but that doesn't help you grow as a business.
Actually, Devesh, point taken, in the sense that,
Correct.
say around 7 8 years back, I was part of
Hmm.
a cohort where, we were given some kind of training in entrepreneurship and stuff like that, and
Hmm.
there was a very a big guy from the finance industry who basically
Yeah.
gave us a lowdown for a day. Okay, so we
Hmm.
got to spend a day with him, where he try to make us understand finance.
Yeah.
But believe me, if we had services like yours
Hmm.
around at that point of time, uh, I think life would have been much easier, and we
Yeah.
wouldn't have just depended, because that
Correct.
guy would come and go, and
Yeah.
we can't consult with him. He's too big.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
We
Correct.
can't disturb him too much, also. So I think
True.
we'll
True.
move on to the case studies now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Sure. Sure.
Okay.
So when we talk about the hotel industry and what we have taken into consideration for the past 15 minutes, the first case study when we come out is, when we see when we are talking about creating systems and everything else, what I can see which is a very common mistake in this hotel industry is that, when we have a system and when we are doing an accounting, it's just for the sake of the compliances and everything else, as we just talked. But when you can create a real time cloud based software where your owner, your manager, and other accountants who are working under you can have a proper real time analysis of the data which you are generating, and then make a proper business, like say business decision out of it. So that is a win win situation for everyone in those level, in that level and system. So when we talk about cloud based software, we talk about here, for the example, we have given Zoho Books. So Zoho
Yeah.
Books is this real time accounting software where you can put in the numbers, punch in the numbers, and do your accounting. And it doesn't just help for accounting; it can can help you for generating your business reports, generating your financials in those type of terms, where you can
mm,
really understand that where the cash is coming in, how much is going for what expenses, and if I want to be more profitable, what are the systems that I can generate, or like if it is required to cut the cost, or if it's required to increase the sales. So these are all
mm,
big decisions that a businesses needs to take, and it can be
mm,
done on monthly basis and everything else. Particularly speaking about the hotel industry, what I believe the points that should be taken into consideration: firstly, we
mm,
need to do proper audits on a quarterly or a half yearly basis. By this,
mm,
what we mean is like, we require a certain a person who is visiting that particular property and seeing whether the systems which we have generated already are in
mm.
proper work or not. So when we talk about
Okay.
this, we see that what the invoices that have been generated are being properly billed or not, if the register entries is directly matching with the invoices or not, are there any
Mm,
industries where, are there any sales entries where the cash has been taken directly by the manager or not. So these are like
mm.
very small terms which can be seen when there are like certain person going and doing an audit. In the same
Right.
way, stock audit is like one very important thing which is required. Stock audit, by stock audit we mean like, how much stock that is available in our software should be
Mm.
physically present there as well. So when we talk
Okay.
about, supposedly saying that there are 100 tissue papers that being used every month, but
Mm,
we can see a certain surge of use of tissue paper in the second month, say supposedly say it's gone 200. So now we
mm,
can ask question to the manager. So like if the surge has gone double, that doesn't mean that we have double the clients, the sales are the same, and then we
mm.
have this particular analysis of data where we can ask questions to the manager, and then he will be answerable
Right.
to it as well. So there we have those certain proofs, where we can prove that okay, you are here for the whole time and you
Mm.
cannot justify this, then I don't think you are the right person for the job. It's very
Right.
simple and clear.
Right.
So
But Devesh,
yeah.
how much, like, just asking, how much time does it take to create such systems? Is it very long,
No,
or like it
so
can be
no,
done?
no, 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 no. So basically, the data is already with you. What I'm saying is that
Okay.
the catch here is that the data is already with you. You just have to put it in the right way to generate the right reports, and that won't take
Okay.
even, I would say, when I take about a monthly data, that can be done is like 2 days. In 2 days, you can
Hmm.
just get out the whole month data and put it in a certain way where you can generate those reports and where you can ask those questions to your managers. It's very simple.
Awesome. Okay. And
Yeah,
like in the sense that, okay, when again asking you another question is that,
yeah, yeah.
because this is very pertinent. Okay, so if you say
Correct,
quarterly and
correct.
half
Yes.
year, like quarterly and half yearly basis, okay,
Yeah.
so season time, say like in, let's take the
Yes.
example of Sikkim. So it starts somewhere
Yeah.
in Feb,
Yeah.
April, May, June, July. That is the peak.
Yes.
Okay, and nobody has
Correct.
time for audit. Nobody has time for this,
Correct,
that, and
correct,
all.
correct,
But
correct.
if some so during the season time, say if somebody acts funny
Mm-hmm.
and the season is gone, the money is also
Yeah,
gone, all
yeah.
everything is gone, and then
Yes, yes,
post
true.
facto you are realizing. So how
Correct.
many, like, I think you've heard of multiple instances like this, like, people
Yeah,
have
yeah.
lost money like this,
Mm-hmm. No, that is what I'm
right?
saying. Na. When there is this whole months where the tourists are flowing in, you are generating those invoices in a very high number. People and the manager as well as the owner won't even see that there are like this certain amount which is going out. But when you
Mm,
consider all these amounts and when you club it, then you can see the high number.
mm,
As the the proverb goes, like when you say "boon boon se sagar bharta hai," in the sense
huh,
that when these droplets are going, you can't see the difference, but when
mm,
those accumulates and the the bucket is filled, then you
mm.
see that okay, this much amount is gone.
All right,
And
right.
then that is where we can, that the bucket, when we talk about the bucket, we can only catch those when we have these proper audits, stock audits
Mm,
and those internal audits where we can see that how the systems are working. Because every what I believe is that every hotel has a system of its own.
mm,
But
right.
to see that the system is working well and the manager is doing good, we need to
Mm,
make sure that we do those proper inspections and proper audits, in a very good manner. And
right,
just to make sure that there are also surprise checks as well, because
right,
certain things, when certain audits are done and when there's a timeline set, what people do is they tend to hide those inadequate systems and all. So what we can
right.
do there is that if we are planning to do an audit 1 week after, we can just go
Mm,
and give a surprise visit like 1 week before as well. So that
right,
makes the it makes the whole constant unfiltered. It's like very
right.
very clear.
Right.
Yeah,
And again, like coming to the point is like, so if you create these systems, like again, taking the example
correct.
of just Sikkim,
Yeah.
North Bengal, these realities can be different for different states, different
Yes.
places in India. But
Hmm.
say that we create something like this, and mainly during off season, say
Correct.
right now, Christmas, New Year, and after that,
Hmm.
there is an off season of January and
Yeah.
February,
Yes. Yes.
and in the second half, on the later half of February, the season actually
Hmm.
starts picking up.
Correct.
So this is
Correct.
actually the perfect 50-60 days to
Perfect. Yes.
insert this system and ensure that that okay, fine, and then it's sometime in the middle of a season,
Hmm.
your team can just go in and see what is
True.
happening and check it out and
True.
stuff
True.
like
True.
that,
Correct.
and
Correct.
that is
So
like,
that is
all
what I'm
right,
saying.
that.
Like, currently, when we are talking about it, it might seem like, it's a very meticulous system and it might take a lot of time. But when
Hmm,
the system is already there, it won't take like even, one day to just cater all
hmm,
this thing which we are talking about.
yeah,
It was
because
it's like, yeah.
it's hardly like, your departments,
Correct.
what is bought, what is sold.
Correct.
You have
Correct.
been doing business for quite some time. You might be a
Correct.
newbie also, but you've done business for quite some time. So
Yes.
especially in
True.
the hotel industry in Sikkim, it's pretty mature. A lot of people have been there. So
Yeah.
yeah, but again, like, they would love a service like this, and when it's available
True.
in Sikkim,
True.
why not, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
100%.
so that model, I think, and guys, I feel that this is very affordable also, and it can be done. So
Yes.
let's move on to the next case study with regarding
Yeah.
the hotel industry itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we talk about, compliances, and what I believe here, there are like two compliances that is like mandatory for all hotels. Firstly is a GST registration if they are, touching the number of 20 lakhs income per annum. And
That's the
if
easy.
it's, yeah, that is very easy. When we talk
Easy.
about this hotel industries, 20 lakh is
Yeah.
like a very very minimum bare number, and
Yeah.
I think most of them are achieving it. So if
Hmm.
they are achieving it, they have to take a GST registration. And here
Hmm.
also in GST registration, there is a very big catch. And when I
Hmm.
talk about catch, most hotels, what I've seen in here in the, northeastern belt, what they do is like they just catch a small accountant in and around the marketplace, and they just
Hmm.
do the invoices, and they just do the filings. But
Hmm.
GST is not, it's not just about the filings. It's much more
Hmm.
about it. When we talk an extensive talk about GST, it's about inputs and outputs. So outputs,
Hmm.
everybody knows that, whenever we do a sale, we generate a GST bill, and we take that GST bill from the customer itself. That is very
Hmm.
clear and about.
Yeah.
But when you talk about inputs, there are certain purchases where we have already paid GST on certain terms. Like supposedly
Right.
say, when we talk about the hotel industry, when we talk about, different services that we take, like supposedly say groceries and everything else, we have
Hmm.
paid GST onto it itself. So
Hmm.
we need to be, self knowledge enough, so that those purchases invoices where we have already paid GST, that can be taken as an input. So if I give an
Hmm.
example here, supposedly say we sell around say 100 rupees is our sell for a month,
Right.
and we charge 18% GST supposedly.
Hmm.
But the rates are like 12%. So let's take an
Hmm.
example of 12%. So
12%.
supposedly say we there is a 12% GST that we have charged from the customers. So now we need to pay that 12 to the government. But
Hmm.
if we have purchased in the same month, like supposedly say 6 rupees we have paid as a GST. So
Hmm.
now the amount that we need to be paid to the government is just 6 rupees, and
Hmm.
not 12. But the main problem here is that, the knowledge is, what I see here, the accountants that are hired and everything else, they just do for the sake of it, rather than, making those business more accurate, and, helping them increase the profits. They just do it for the sake of, just getting that extra money which they are earning by doing those. And
This.
in the same, yeah,
Hmm.
and in the same manner, the hotel also don't, take a lot of interest into it, because they think that this is something out of their context, and they don't take a lot of, interest in it.
Coming to the point, no,
Yeah.
Devesh, what you have said is also very important. Is that, see, like again from GST,
Yeah.
what happens is that suppose you have paid GST, all right,
Correct.
and the guy at the other end,
Yeah.
for some reason or the other, he's not put it into his system,
Yeah.
into
Correct.
the GST system, and
Mm-hmm.
over here also you have not done anything, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
what happens is that there is a mismatch, and there's like, you have
Yeah.
lost out on that savings of that
True.
part.
Correct.
Now
Correct.
if you have your list of all your bills, and you have paid GST, and you have
Yeah.
filed it properly,
Yes.
then it
Yes.
becomes, then whoever you bought it from, the
Correct.
product, the supplier that you bought it
Mhm.
from,
Mhm.
he's asked that why didn't you file it? This person has filed it,
Correct. Correct.
right?
Correct. Correct.
So there is a
Yeah.
check and balance, and then you will come to
Yes.
know that whether your suppliers, your group of suppliers, are strong or not. So
Correct.
there,
Correct.
if your supplier groups are strong, then what will happen is that over a time you will see that the ones that are strong, they have a very strong compliance
Correct.
mechanism,
Correct.
right?
Correct. Correct.
So
Yeah.
then you can make
100%.
better decisions on who your
100%.
suppliers can be,
100%. So
whom you're buying
yeah,
from, right?
so when we are doing the GST compliance, it's not just the tip of the iceberg. When we get
Mm,
into deep into it, we can make business decisions from it as well. As like you
mm,
explained very nicely here, when we talk about the suppliers, if somebody is doing their compliance at a very regular time and in a very systematic manner, you can suggest that the sales of his and the efforts that he is putting into his business is very good. So the
mm.
amount of mishappening with the supplier becomes very less.
Yeah. And
100%.
and the beautiful thing is that, see, when I'm in a different sector altogether,
Yeah.
but the beautiful thing is that the payment cycles, the repayment cycles, and all, they're
Yeah.
set in such a, and especially the good suppliers that I have,
Hmm.
most of them are nice. So
Yeah.
the payment cycles and all are also set in such a way that their filings and our filings are matching
Correct.
properly and stuff like
Correct.
that.
Correct. Yeah.
So and the beautiful part is that both of us use Zoho, so
Yeah. That is also one thing. Yes. Yes. Yes, obviously.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think. Yeah.
you're done
We
with
can move
this
into the. Yeah. Yeah, we can move into
case
the
study
case
three.
study. So,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Mm,
Yeah. So now when we talk about, the compliances and everything else, there is also one big dilemma here when we talk about ITRs. And
mm,
when we talk about this, the whole northeastern belt and everything else. So here, particularly in Sikkim, when we talk about ITRs, there is just this
mm,
one statement that I receive from each and every guy is that we are not we are not we are not the ones who pay tax here. We are
mm.
exempted from tax, so why do we file ITRs?
So
So
ITR basically stands for tax
income tax
returns. Yeah.
return. Yeah. So when I talk about ITR, so firstly, the very example of ITR is that you are giving a proof to the government that I am earning a certain amount of income. So
Mm,
this proof is like the if I talk about the signed agreement, this is the proof that you are generating this amount of income on your name. So when we talk
mm,
about taxes is a whole different thing. Everybody knows that in Sikkim this 26 triple A is the section
mm,
permits and you don't have to pay any taxes. That's fine. But
mm,
when you talk about generating and disposing of your income, you need to
mm,
show to the government that you are generating certain amount of income. and
mm,
and ITRs are not just about paying taxes and everything else. When you talk about taking loans from the I say banks and everything else, when you require for a certain increase, or when you need to boost the business growth, you need to
mm,
take loans. You always are in a requirement of funds. So the first
mm,
thing which the bank would ask is the ITRs, because like they require a proof like how much income you are generating.
mm,
And the very big misconception here in mostly and presumptively in the Sikkim, what it is like, people say that we are not liable to pay tax here, so why do we file ITR? So that is a very wrong misconception, and it's a very
mm,
wrong misconception to be taken in any industry of the business. And the hotel industry is not different as well. When you talk about the hotel industry, you are generating a certain income and you are
mm,
generating a certain expenses as well. So you
mm.
need to file the ITRs to make sure that you are certainly generating a particular income and showing the government that you are generating that particular income as well. So you
And
just
claiming
don't
that
want to.
exemption also.
Correct, correct. So I have seen people who has been deducted a certain TDS, and they don't
Mm,
file the ITRs, and they think that this is a tax that has already been deducted. But it's
mm,
not that. That is not the case. The TDS
mm,
that has been already deducted by your employer is just
mm.
tax deducted at source, but that can be refunded as well if you file the ITRs as well. But
Yeah. So
yeah,
so in this regard, I am from Sikkim, and
yeah,
I have this exemption as well.
correct,
So
correct.
what I have learned over the years is that I've been filing ITR now.
Yeah.
And the thing is that you can claim your exemption in 26 AAA. And
Correct.
what it does is that right now it might not matter, and because you're
Mhm.
earning in Sikkim and this and that, and
Correct.
like
Correct.
why to
Correct.
do it and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
especially for people who are in business and youngsters who are
Correct.
like coming up, like in the
Yeah.
job, in jobs as well as in starting their own businesses. If you
Mhm.
if you if you start this practice at an early age, and be compliant from an ITR perspective, what happens is that your this through your PAN card, your not just your income tax returns but your CIBIL score,
Correct.
everything gets tracked.
Yes. Yes.
and
Yes.
then
Yes.
and then what happens is that, say, you do obviously now the movement is shifting towards creating private limited companies,
Mhm.
and especially people like who want to, even in the hospitality sector, create chains.
Correct.
All right,
Correct. Correct.
you want to create a lot of things that, for example, you want to say, I have XYZ hotels,
Mhm.
like a brand, right? I have
Mhm.
created 5 hotels in Sikkim. There's a
Correct.
person who comes from, say, Nainital, or there's a
Mhm.
person who comes from Goa and says that I want your
Yeah.
franchisee. Takes
Correct.
the franchisee,
Yeah.
but how do I do it? I am now a sole proprietor who's doing it.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
private limited, maybe set up out
Yes.
of Siliguri or out of
Yes.
Delhi,
Yes.
out
Yes.
of
Yes.
Bombay, wherever you want,
Yeah.
you can get an address nowadays. That's not a big problem.
Correct. Correct.
You get virtual addresses also to set up private
Yeah.
limited.
True.
So
True. True.
you create that, whatever income you're generating from here comes
Yeah.
under the ITR filing over
Correct.
here only. Like, so from
Correct.
Sikkim,
Correct. Correct.
but whatever you're
Yeah.
earning from there, for there you might have to pay tax and all. But
True.
then
True.
again, you are expanding, you're creating new
Yeah. Yeah.
businesses,
So
your income
yeah. Yeah.
sources are growing. Yeah.
Correct,
So
correct, correct. The whole thing is about that only. And especially when you are in the business, industry, where your whole motive is to grow and make other sources of income as well. So you can't just be dependent upon one state and generating those income from here itself. As you
hmm,
perfectly explained, when you are getting into this hotel industry and when the business idea is bigger enough, you
hmm,
obviously will think about getting into chains of hotels and obviously creating different hotels. And when we talk about Sikkim, it's a very small geographical situation. Even if
hmm.
I have a chain, if even if I have a hotel in Sikkim, my next big idea would be getting an hotel in Siliguri or getting an hotel
Siliguri,
in yeah,
Darjeeling.
getting yeah, Darjeeling or Kalimpong. So even if
Yeah.
you move from Sikkim, suppose Gangtok to Darjeeling, there is a
Hmm,
different
hmm,
state, different things are there, and then you just can't do business in Darjeeling just
hmm.
because you don't have those particular incomes to be shown, or you don't have those particular numbers that can be shown to those particular banks and everything else. So and
Right.
the loan perspective is just one certain thing, and not just the loan, as you perfectly explained, the credit score and everything else. So not just the banks but the NBFCs who you will be
Hmm,
catering to for access of more funds when you are
right.
creating a chain of hotels. That would be much more harder if you had if you haven't filled the ITR.
Right. Devesh, there's
Yeah.
also another thing that I wanted to point out to our
Yes.
listeners is that, a lot of people are now looking at, they're looking at, you see, at raising funds.
Correct.
Right. So when you are raising funds, when you have made your pitch deck, everything going
Yeah.
all good, yes,
Mhm.
then comes the due diligence.
Yes. Correct.
So when
Correct.
the due diligence happens from the investor side, you have to be pretty well prepared to, like,
True.
not just from, obviously they look at your numbers, but they
Mm.
also look at all the compliance issues, because they don't
Correct.
want to be
Correct.
investing into some company which is not which is falling back on compliances, right?
100%. 100%. Like when I give you just an example, there's this
Hmm.
whole funding Shark Tank, the show,
Yeah.
where people receive these big fundings and everything else for a certain amount
Hmm.
of percentage in their company. Those bigger companies, if you take at the success rate, the checks that they receive, it's not guaranteed that they will get the money. then the due diligence happens, and if they see that everything is working well, only then they get the money. Now
Yeah.
put that perspective into our industry. There is like bigger companies who are working with a separate team in each department, they are also having this problem of not getting those compliances done, and not getting those compliances done on time. You are paying late fees and everything else. And then
Yeah.
when we compare that same situation to ours, where we don't even have a private limited. So
Mm.
when we don't even have a private limited, we are totally working on sole proprietorship basis. And sole
Right.
proprietorship basis is the what we called in India is this jugadu basis. You know,
Yeah.
person is money is coming in, we are doing the expenses, that's fine. We are good
Hmm.
to go. We are making
Yeah.
profits, that's fine. But
Hmm.
it is not how that works. When you are in this business industry, when you are thinking bigger, when you are thinking out of the box, when you are thinking of expansion and everything else, the funding
Yeah.
part comes in. You need to raise funds, and everything else should also be done perfectly. So only
Yeah.
then, you can make a particular profitable business.
But coming to the point of again to
Yeah.
ITR, like just a couple of days back, I was looking at the news also,
Yeah.
it's Twitter or X. So you
Yeah.
find like you have somewhere around 7.4 crore people who are filing their
Yeah.
taxes, and
Correct.
5.28 crores are reporting zero, paying
Yeah.
zero
Yeah.
tax. So it's
Yes.
only
Yes. Yes.
2.28 crores who
True.
are
True.
who
True.
are actually
But
actually paying taxes.
yeah, but when you see on those 5.2 crores that you just stated, they are also
Hmm.
doing a very good job in building the civil and everything else. So
Right,
here,
right,
the,
right.
the when you see the percentage, more than 50% of people are just filing the ITRs for the sake. But when you
Hmm.
see that 50% of people are filing because there are some benefits, correct? They are also
Hmm.
not doing it.
Right,
They don't have this extra money of paying size 1,000 or 2,000 to the CAs to just do this
right,
ITR when even they are not paying the taxes. They
right,
still has those particular benefits that ITR gives rather than just paying the taxes.
right, right, right,
Yeah.
right. So let's go into the questions.
Yeah. Correct. Correct. Yes.
You're good, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
all
Yes.
right, I'll just so okay. MSHA 09Q. So this person asks, what are the compliances a small businesses should
Yeah.
follow if they are just starting? I think we have covered it, but just to answer it, say from a small business, from the hotel and tourism industry only, just if you can think of a couple of
Yeah.
things, basics.
Yeah. From the hotel industry, if the basic compliances when you start, firstly you require a license. That may be your trade
Hmm.
license in the state of Sikkim, if we are talking about.
Hmm.
And if the the license is mandatory when you're starting up.
But Devesh, your network is just you can leave the chat and then
Oh,
come back.
just a
Just
second.
leave the
Just a
chat
second.
and
I'm
yeah,
doing
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Leave the room and then come back, rejoin.
Yeah. Just a second.
And now you're okay actually. So guys, yeah, man. So let him answer this question. Like it's pretty straightforward. Small businesses, like you can have a view of from a small business. You can have a view of like starting from a private limited perspective. Okay, so Devesh is joining. So I think that I'll let him only answer it. So he's taking some time to join. So
Hello.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Am I
Please
audible?
answer the question. Yeah, yeah, you're audible now.
So I was talking about the compliances that a small business, and if it pertain to a hotel industry, firstly you need to get a trade license. If we particularly talk about Sikkim, you need to get a trade license to do the business. Secondly, if the sales amounts to 20 lakh per annum, then the GST is mandatory. But even if you
Hmm.
have like a, a huge number in inputs, you can take a voluntary registration in GST as well. And
Hmm.
thirdly, what is required if you run a restaurant in that particular hotel, so then you require an FSSAI registration as well. So these are like three basic registrations that you require to start up a small business.
Okay.
No.
And like compared to say around 5 to 7 years back, I think a lot of these compliances have gone digital. So these
Yeah.
compliances might they will take a day or two to actually
Correct, correct, correct.
get the
When
numbers.
we talk about FSSAI and GST, both have
Hmm.
their own different portals. You can do
Yeah.
everything sitting on the laptop. You don't have to
Hmm.
visit any office. So like basically earlier when we used to take registrations, we are visiting multiple offices, going
Right.
there, just sitting there for a day or so. Those days are
Hmm.
gone. You can just sit on a
Yeah.
laptop, you can just give the
Yeah.
information
Like only in
and
certain towns or something. Devesh, am I
then
audible? Yeah.
it's done.
I think
Yeah.
there's some audio issue from your end. Yeah.
Now is it fine now? I think I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
checked
it's
the
fine.
internet.
The audio, it's like actually there's a
Yeah,
lag
okay.
coming from your system, network issue, I think. So
Okay.
yeah, so
Uh
you can have a you
yeah.
so if you look at different states, every state, even if you're starting from your trade license perspective, so there
Yeah.
are if not in Sikkim, then elsewhere you have Small Business Establishments Act, which
Mhm.
basically gives power to your
Correct.
municipal corporations to create trade
Correct. Correct.
licenses and stuff like that. So for
Mhm.
those things, and then you have certain compliances regarding
Yeah.
fire, water, pollution,
Mhm.
etc., etc.
Correct.
So every
Correct.
state has their own
Has a different.
requirements,
Correct. Correct. Correct.
has their
If I
own
have to talk
requirements.
in, yeah, if I have to talk in the very common terms,
Hmm,
all those states which have, shop and establishment, so that is like
hmm.
one go-to license. If you have taken that, then you don't have to take a different license for
Um,
each and everything.
yeah, right. But
Yeah.
then again, like say for in a state like Sikkim, like I've
Yeah.
what I've observed, and I've observed it elsewhere also. So
Yeah.
there is a proper fire license that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Correct.
There is a
Correct.
safety license that happens. There is like
Correct.
if your establishment, if you are, I don't know whether a small business will have an elevator in the
True. True.
complex, but if they
Yeah.
do, then they need an elevator license also, right?
Yes. Yes.
A
Yes.
lot of
Yes.
things, but
Yeah.
more or less we have covered the
Yeah, yeah.
questions.
So
I think I hope
basically,
you.
these are like very common, registrations that every business needs to take, and depending
Hmm,
upon the government and the state you are working in, that
hmm.
depends upon, totally depends upon the geography you are working in.
Okay, so we'll
Yeah,
take the next question. So again, same from the same person,
yeah,
MSH09Q. What solutions does Compliance Koro have for businesses?
yeah.
So,
So as we already talked,
mm,
we are like a solution. Like if you talk about finances and any other terms, if you talk about the system which we are generating and everything else, so we have a solution for each and everything. So basically, what our whole motto here is that we want to be a solution for each and everything. So basically, what our whole motto here is that we want to be a solution for each and everything. So when we
you'll
talk
have to.
about A to Z,
So,
if you are
hmm.
anything which is related to finance, you have a problem with finance, you have a problem with accounting, you have a problem with finance, you have a problem with
So, Devesh, I think you're having issues with your internet. Uh, Devesh, you're a bit, you're not audible.
hello.
Yeah, yeah, there's some issue with your internet. Yeah. So, I should I take this question if you're okay?
I'm just reconnecting. I'm just reconnecting.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I am.
So, what I would like to say is that from a solutions perspective, whatever little I've interacted with this team and I've spoken to them for quite some time now, for the last 2 3 months, Devesh is joining us. Yeah, yeah, Devesh.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's okay. Continue.
Just a bag, yeah. So when I talk about our services, it's like an A to Z solution to all your finances troubles. Not just finance. When we talk about legal, if you require any help in legal, secretarial, if you want to get any registrations, if you want to create a private limited, and all. So this is all our extensive. When we talk about all these things. So basically, what our whole motto here is that even if you have an idea where you want to start something, so we can be your extensive partner, where we won't be in your board of directors, but we would be as submissive and as helpful to make that particular idea, execute it, and make it a successful venture. So if that sums it up.
Okay, but like whatever, when you had gone, I was just trying to summarize what
Yeah.
you guys do actually.
Yes.
So, see,
Yeah.
from a compliances perspective, actually, that does not matter much to me because,
Correct.
like that most of the people, most of the CAs and all, they provide that kind of service.
Correct.
But
Correct.
what hit me most was that, like, you have had experience in, like, working with impact investors earlier. Your work, your team, actually, many of your team members have got a big four accounting
Correct. Correct.
background. You have a network of people who are there, like, backing you up in understanding
Correct.
certain things. And
Hmm.
plus, what I also so from, if you're looking from, like, taking, say, a base entrepreneur and taking him right to the level of getting him funds, that is one aspect that I saw that you guys have. And the
Yeah.
second thing that I observed about you guys is that uh you have your team has the capability of going to a particular system, analyzing, breaking it down, finding where the problems are, creating systems so that those problems are, like, at least you're aware that these things are happening, and over a period of time coming and getting solutions for the same.
Correct. Correct.
है
Correct.
ना?
You,
I
yeah,
think
I
that,
think you have summed it up. Yes.
because, like, I've been thinking about you guys quite a bit for the last 1 week since we've met and talked,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
So when I saw, like, two aspects which basically makes compliance karo a bit different compared to what
Yeah.
we have over here in Sikkim. That's where you
Correct.
guys stand out, and I think your services, not just Sikkim, like, because you're physically here, that's another
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's something like Kalimpong, Darjeeling, the Northeast,
Yeah.
the rest of the Himalayan states. They're all, or even in the in tier two and tier three cities, or even if you are in the big cities of India,
Yeah. Yeah, correct.
what you
Correct.
need is a partner like Compliance Karo. Okay,
Yeah.
like,
True.
an advisory perspective from Compliance Karo, that whatever small idea you have, or you're already into
Mm-hmm.
an existing business,
Yeah.
whether it be hotels or anything else, you
Yeah.
can basically take that idea and ensure that you can run with it to, whether you want a bank loan, or
Yeah.
you want to fund it through a bank loan, or you want to fund it
Correct.
through an investor. All those opportunities are there. And the second thing is that, obviously, talking about profitability and
Mm-hmm.
smoothness of operations, there
Correct.
also, I think Devesh's team and Compliance Karo has a huge role to play. And I
Correct.
think we are nearly touching 50 minutes, and I think we have more
Yeah.
or less covered all the points. We
Yes.
don't have any more questions, so Devesh, should we conclude now?
Yeah. Yeah. 100% yes.
All right.
I think it was
So
just like 50 minutes. We didn't knew when it passed by, because like there are so many untouched topics which we can talk about, and
I think
when we,
we will do
yeah,
that. We will do that on a
yes,
weekly basis now.
yes,
I
yes,
think
yes,
based
yes,
on the interest that we generate.
yeah, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So, guys, the idea of why we were looking at hotels per se was pretty much evident from looking at our industry in Sikkim and in the Himalayan states, in the northeastern states, where this is the biggest chunk of business. And if you look at it from a national perspective also, our industry in Sikkim has some around 30-40 years of legacy compared to other smaller towns which where hotels did not exist at that point of time. So from a hotelier kind of a brain, from understanding the customer psychology, I think we are way ahead compared to in other places. So if we look at what Devesh has done and what his team can do when they come in, not just from looking at from a profitability and smoothness of operations from a business side, but taking your idea from here, your experience from here, and then expanding it to the rest of India. I think this is where their role comes in, and this is where they will stand out. I hope this conversation was as interesting for you as it was for me. And I hope I'll be meeting you again soon, and have a good evening. I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Bye bye, guys. See you.